Time APS has made big headlines for its recent superintendent buyouts, but News 13 obtained records showing a lot of other districts doing the exact same thing.
Yet News 13 has learned the state's public education department has approved 10 different superintendent buyouts in districts statewide over the last 5 years alone. It's cost taxpayers more than $1 million. Some think the topic needs to be addressed, but they have different ideas on how to do it.
I think local school boards just have to step up to the plate.
If the superintendents were not included in the School Personnel Act, you could design a contract and define just cause a lot differently.
You can find more details on Chris McKee's special assignment online right now, KRQE.com, including details on the buyouts, or just open our KRQE News app.
6:03 and happening today, a man charged in one of 2 suspicious deaths in Albuquerque could appear in court. Deputies responded to a call of shots fired at a house near Osuna and 2nd Street about 3:30 Thursday morning. They found 22-year-old Joseph Mora dead in the driveway. Deputies believe that he went to the home with the intention of buying stolen goods from 28-year-old Dylan Parker. Police say the two got in a fight. They believe that Parker shot Mora multiple times before taking off. Parker has since been arrested, charged with murder. Neighbors living in the area say they're surprised.
Usually our neighbors here, we just kind of watch out. We don't have problems like that.
The other possible homicide happened in an alley near Wyoming and Manal. APD says a jogger spotted a man's body in a pool of blood. It's unknown how the man died, but we're told that he was middle-aged and likely homeless.
Turn out to news happening today. Parts of Southern California bracing for more thunderstorms after heavy rains caused massive flooding there. Hundreds of vehicles along a stretch of I-5 in Los Angeles County got stuck in the mud yesterday, backing up traffic for miles. Officials say the state still needs more rainfall, believe it or not, to help with its record drought there.
Also developing right now, Israel is deploying more troops to its border with Gaza as Palestinians call for mass protests today. Authorities are also banning young Muslim men from entering a revered mosque in Jerusalem at the center of the increased violence. In the last 2 weeks, dozens of Palestinians and several Israelis have died. It was a big opportunity for New Mexico, but in the end, our bid for Tesla's big manufacturing plant didn't make the cut.
But that's not to say we did not garner attention from other prospective businesses. News 13's Catherine Mazzone explains how Tesla's bid is still helping us today.
New Mexico was an early player and a finalist in the top 4.
Of course, we'd be very proud to have them.
While Tesla ultimately chose to set up shop in Nevada.
I don't need to say that this is a significant and historic day for all of us.
Economic experts say just being a contender for the Gigafactory raised New Mexico's profile in the business world.
Other companies, either directly from them or by the consultants who represent them, say, I'm curious about Albuquerque. Why was Albuquerque in the mix for Tesla?
Albuquerque Economic Development's Gary Tonjes says it's led to several conversations with companies looking for manufacturing locations, including a consultant representing a big-name business out of California.
One of the things that the consultant really wanted to understand is how is it that New Mexico could have been so competitive?
Tonjes says consultants have taken notice of Albuquerque's changing business climate.
She said, my sense is New Mexico is a different place for business today than it had been. And it absolutely is the case.
Tonjes says New Mexico wasn't hitting the mark when it came to luring businesses to the city 5 or 10 years ago.
We were a bit of a basket case because we did so many things wrong from a tax policy perspective. Today, it's a different deal.
He says now the trick is spreading the word about how competitive New Mexico has become.
Because once we have a chance to compete, then they can see just how clearly New Mexico can be and is a player for those projects.
That's exactly what Tesla's interest helped to do. Catherine Mazzone, KRQE News 13.
The Sandoval Economic Alliance made a run at GE to try to lure them to New Mexico. And while the company said no, there was still a conversation. Tonjes says they deserve some credit because you never know how things will turn out.
6:06 now this morning, an Albuquerque officer nearly killed by a drunk driver is looking for a way to pay some big medical bills. In March of last year, aviation officer Bobby Dilley was driving home from work on I-40 when he was hit by Michelle Rivera. That crash sent his Jeep rolling, crushing him and dragging him for 200 feet. Dilley suffered severe injuries, including losing half of his foot. Rivera did not have insurance, leaving Dilley and his family with massive medical bills.
It devastated me physically, emotionally, and financially. And instead of just giving up, I'm working harder.
Rivera is serving a 2-year sentence for the crash. If you'd like to help him, you can check out the info on the KRQE News app.
Turn out to this morning, a little girl in Virginia has quite the story to tell about her unique birthday gift. It's all thanks to some local police officers. 3-year-old Chesley loves policemen and firefighters, so her mom decided, how about taking a chance and invite some local officers to her daughter's birthday party? She says she wasn't expecting them to show up because she knows they're pretty busy, but they did, and in force. Chesley got to go inside a patrol car, even snap some photos with the officers. They are now up on Facebook. Her mom says she just wanted to show the positive side of police work. And look how excited she is.
I know, she's so sweet. That's cool that police officers took the time to just for a special little girl's birthday.
I love that idea. Good for them.
What a gift.
So windy weather is prompting the health department to issue a health alert for adults and kids with respiratory conditions because of the blowing dust. The alert is in effect until around noon today. Remember, stay with KRQE News 13 for all the details on that. Turn now to this.
It's been a pretty hot button issue among parents, students, and teachers. And today, scores from the controversial PARCC test are expected to be released.
Yeah, and already education officials are warning parents. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is live at APS headquarters to explain why. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Crystal. Now, according to Education Secretary Hannah Scandera, those states that put PARCC in place saw a 40% drop in their test scores after the first year. The PARCC test is based on Common Core standards. Those were adopted in New Mexico in 2010. That's according to the Public Education Department. Leaders with the department argue PARCC is a better exam than what teachers administered before, the SBA, saying it directly measures what students have been learning all year. Plus, they say it requires kids to show they can use critical thinking skills and apply their learning to solve problems. But many parents aren't on board. Some say that type of learning is too complicated and can dumb down students. A lot of students chose not to take the PARCC this year, or standardized test. In fact, 52 schools in the district didn't meet the required number of students to take the test. That requirement is 95%. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Scores for grades 9 through 11th will be posted on the PED website. Scores for all other grades are expected to be released at the end of the month. We'll stay on top of that for you.
Overnight, the Bernalillo County Fire Department is investigating this house fire that broke out in the East Mountains. It happened at a home on El Cedro. According to authorities, it was under control by about 10:30 last night. Firefighters say the winds were a concern while they were fighting the blaze, but luckily those flames did not spread into the heavily wooded area nearby.
We're extremely lucky. There's a lot of houses that are immediately surrounding this and a church, and we're extremely lucky that the winds didn't get these flames out of control and reach out to a neighboring exposure.
Investigators are still looking into the cause. They're going to have to go inside that house, they say, later today to do that.
Turn out to this developing story this morning. The former CNN journalist nearly killed in a shootout with a robber at an Albuquerque Motel 6 will get to go home today after another surgery. Chuck Caro and his wife Lynn Russell are also now suing the motel, saying it's a magnet for crime and that it's not doing anything to stop it.
Yeah, Caro and Russell were staying at a Motel 6 near Coors and I-40 more than 3 months ago when an armed robber came into their room with a gun. This all ended with a shootout that killed the robber and injured Caro. Now the couple is suing, saying even though security cameras surround the motel's perimeter, no one is actually monitoring them. It also claims more security guards should be patrolling the motel that's been a target for crime for the last 5 years.
We're the only people who didn't know that we were not in a safe environment.
A manager at the Motel 6 says she has nothing to say. No one at the corporate offices wanted to comment either. Happening now, fire crews in central Texas are battling a massive wildfire that's destroyed nearly 36 homes. That fire has now charred 4,200 acres, 50 miles east of Austin. Texas Governor Greg Abbott declared a state of disaster because of the fires. Governor Abbott also thanked first responders and added his thoughts and prayers are with those affected.
Move on to this developing story this morning. An announcement from the vice president on a 2016 race for the White House could be just days away. One of Joe Biden's top political advisors, former Delaware Senator Ted Kaufman, sent a letter to former Biden staffers. In it, Kaufman said Biden is, quote, aware of the practical demands of making a final decision soon. Some fear if an announcement does not come, it may be too late. On the Republican side, two frontrunners have threatened to boycott their next debate In a letter to CNBC, Donald Trump and Ben Carson said they would not participate, in part if the debate lasted more than 2 hours. A rival candidate took a jab at the men.
So I'm all for 3 hours. I'm sorry that they apparently don't have the endurance to go the distance.
The debate is set for October 28th.
Happening this morning, the final U.S. Airways flight is scheduled to depart from Philadelphia. U.S. Airways is being phased out as part of a 2013 merger with American Airlines. The carrier ends its tenure with almost 6,700 daily flights, more than 100,000 employees, and about 8% of U.S. domestic passengers. U.S. Airways started out 76 years ago in Pittsburgh as all-American aviation, flying single-engine planes delivering airmail.
Listen to this pretty cool story. The USS Albuquerque is headed for the scrapyard. The Navy is decommissioning the fast attack nuclear submarine. It was commissioned back in 1983. Since then, it has logged more than 500,000 miles. Can you believe that? It also visited 18 countries and completed 15 deployments. Next month, the submarine systems will be shut down and its nuclear reactor will be defueled. It will then be cut up for recycling. A ceremony to mark the occasion is scheduled for Friday in San Diego. Kind of a bittersweet moment for us.
Yeah, a little bit of history gone there. The makers of the series Homeland have become the target of graffiti artists who say the show is racist. The artists were hired by the show's makers to put spray-painted messages in Arabic as part of the set. The artists did what they were told, but spray-painted messages like "Homeland is racist" and "There is no homeland." The artists call themselves Arabian street artists and say the show doesn't depict Middle Eastern people in a good way. During Sunday's show, graffiti written in Arabic could be seen in the background. The show's co-creator says that they only wish they were able to catch those messages before the show made it to air earlier this month.
Lesson learned.
You bet.